Hare Krishna, wars make billionaires. That is the biggest truth. In this video, I'll tell you the yogas that are, forming at the mundane level, the planets that are significators, karakas of earning money from speculative businesses. I'm going to talk about stocks. I'm also going to talk about gold and silver and how to manage your portfolio. That's going to be the topic for the day. You see, presently in my previous video, I had predicted about the war of Iran and America. You go watch that video. And I also said that there will be these situations and they are going to last long. It's not going to be like Operation Sindoor, which was only for 3 days, but this is a little longer process. And whenever there is a war-like situation, and especially if the countries that are dealing with the oil and gas, if they are involved, definitely there is panic in the market. You will see that suddenly on the first and the second day of the war, the gold went up. It was, about to touch 168, 169, 1,69,000 INR. But now, if you see from last couple of days, it's between 159, 160, 161, 162. You see, always, whenever there is a war-like situation and when the Gulf countries are involved, the prices of the gold, silver, gases, crude oil, they are always on the higher side. They're always, going high. But before I get into those details, how and when you should buy, you should sell, how to manage your portfolio, let me give you some basics of stocks, basics of Jyotisha, of astrology, from where you earn money and what planets signify such speculative gains. You see, whenever we talk about stocks, whenever we talk about crypto, or when we talk about earning from any speculative or even lottery, right? It's always the 11th house. Now, people always talk about that axis between 5 and 11 and 5th house, 11th house. People talk about 8th house. People talk about Mercury. Well, I'll explain you all these things in next 2 minutes. Definitely, it is the 5th and the 11th axis, which is very, very important. 11th house is our gains from the work, hopes, wishes, desires. And 5th house is the house of our punya karma, means the wealth that we get is directly proportion to the good karmas of our past, means the previous birth. And also because of those good karmas, we have excellent decision making ability. We have excellent problem solving ability. That is why we earn wealth. And that what people see is that ability. But even that ability that you see in someone is the fruits of the good karmas of the past. In the same class, in a huge university, you'll find people who become millionaires, billionaires, and people who are still struggling in their life. It's all here. Now, let's talk about 5th house, 11th house. For both 5th house and 11th house, the significator planet is Jupiter. You know that. 2nd, 5th, ninth, and 11th is Jupiter. So keep Jupiter in the parking lot and we'll see how we use this Jupiter. The primary lord of the 11th house is Saturn. If you look at the Kalpurish horoscope, which is Aries rising. Now, the secondary lord of Aquarius sign is Rahu. That's another important thing because in Kali Yuga, The stocks, the portfolios have now gone to AI and crypto. That's where Rahu plays a bigger role. Now, people talk about Mercury. Before even Mercury, let me tell you, for any speculative income, the most important planet that you must see in a horoscope is Saturn. We've done this research in Rudra Vedic Academy for almost over, 1,000 horoscopes, where when Saturn was in the seventh house, Saturn was in the Lagna, or Saturn was the Lagna Lord, that means you are Aquarius or Capricorn Lagna, or when Saturn was in the 11th house, aspecting the Lagna from the third aspect, or when Saturn was, in the fourth house, again aspecting the Lagna from the 10th aspect. Any combination of Saturn with the Lagna Lord or with the Lagna, Lagna is your intelligence. That's the primary signification of Lagna. See, Lagna is not about body. Lagna is the way you carry yourself. That's your intelligence. And whenever you have Saturn associated with the first house, Lagna, that's when your inclinations towards earning through stocks and portfolios and making this as a career is very, very prominent. But the only problem is that all these combinations does not give you great results until it is blessed by Jupiter. Full stop. You pick up any guy. You pick up Dhirubhai Ambani's chart. You pick up Ambani's chart, especially Mukesh Ambani's chart. You pick up charts of those people who've made it and also lost it, right? I've taught people about, Harshad Mehta, made millionaires, billionaires, and then lost it, right? So those yogas, you will see that either Jupiter is aspecting Saturn or Saturn is in the nakshatra of Jupiter, or, there is some relationship between Saturn and Jupiter to make that Saturn large, expansion of that Saturn. Now, Mercury is what? Mercury is technically the problem solving ability, which is highly required for anyone who is working in stocks. Mercury is that intelligence behind Saturn, behind the areas where Saturn is going to flourish. You should have backup of Mercury. That's the game of stocks. And that is when I do consultations, you know, the predictions go absolutely accurate about when are you going to earn and how are you going to earn, what stocks you should be dealing with, because the kind of stocks that you should be dealing with depends upon the placement of the Saturn. That Saturn is in a dual sign or a movable sign or in a fixed sign. So fixed is long term, dual is, small 3 or 6 months of hold, and then, whenever you have Saturn or Jupiter in movable signs, it's like quick. Now, what is happening presently? See, presently, Saturn is in the sign of Jupiter. Saturn is in Pisces. And there is lot happening in the stock market. You see, every time there is a war, there are chances of inflation going high. If there are attacks on the oil refineries and, the crude oil or the oil places, you will see that the supply will go down, the demand will come up, and the prices will go high. That's the basic pattern. So when the prices go high, the inflation increases and everything increases, from the food items to travel to, transportation to fertilizers to, anything, you name a thing, the price is going to go high. And that's a panic situation. The stock market crashes. And that's the panic state, the first state. And in this first stage, lot of people in that panic mode are going to sell their portfolios, sell their stocks and everything. That's the major mistake. You are watching certain, I was watching certain interviews and certain people coming on the news channels and saying you should have cash at home, you should have a battery backup at home. Well, you know, I would humbly request you to don't go by these words, please. Right? I mean, of course, you should have cash, but it doesn't mean that you should liquidate your portfolios or sell your gold or silver or your sell, your certain shares and put your money into oil or, companies who are, you know, uh, are in contractual business with oil refinery industries. No. See, when this panic situation goes away, and this panic situation will go away in June. Why June? Because from 1st June, Jupiter will enter the sign of Cancer and will aspect Saturn from the ninth aspect. That will be the time of stability. You will see that, crash of certain shares in next 2, 3 months, and then suddenly few things will go high. Then it will be stabilizing from June to October, and then from January of 2027 onwards, things will go high, 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 high. And you see, if you are that guinea pig, or if you are that stupid guy who lost your portfolio in these next 3 months, you did panic selling or panic purchasing. Even people are trying to purchase gold, selling stocks and purchasing the gold. Not a good idea. You see, if you can hold on, give your brain a vacation, you know, in this war situation. No panic selling, no panic buying. Just hold on there. And you'll see that you'll make a lot of money. Lot of money. You see, wars make billionaires. COVID made billionaires. People actually, you know, have become billionaires after COVID. People will definitely become billionaires after this war that you have, and definitely, you know, there's going to be some conflict that is going to arise from almost 20th of April to 15th of June. So these 2 months are very critical for India and Pakistan as well. There will be conflicts, but again, no panic selling. You see, you know, a very simple amount of money at home in form of liquidity is fine. You don't have to liquidate everything and have cash. And, when you're running from one city to another, you will be using those cash things. No, that's not, I mean, this is shown. That's what you see and imagine when we are, watching news channels and watching, such interviews and, influencers who are talking about stocks. I'll show you what is happening. I'll share my screen with you to show you, uh, how it's working. So today is 5th of March, and I've made this kundli here right on the screen. If you see we have Rahu and Mars in the 11th house. That's a Kalpurush kundi that I've made, and it's the sign of Aquarius, where you see that we also had Grahan here in the Dhanishta Nakshatra, right? And now the Mars have crossed that point and is heading towards Rahu. Rahu is heading towards Mars, right? There's a war going on, and you see there is lot of panic selling which is happening. You have to stop this because your mind is like in so much of stress. You see the Sensex going down, or the market is bleeding, the Sensex is bleeding, and you say, oh my God, I think before it goes to further losses, I should exit. That's the mistake. Hold on, hold on there. And then you see, you have why this feeling is also coming, because Saturn is in the sign of Jupiter, and also this is a watery sign. So, you are putting emotions into a market, and the market is emotionless. So, whenever Saturn goes into Pisces, people completely lose their money, their savings, because of emotional decisions. You don't have to take emotional decisions because market has zero emotions. Market will make money on your emotions. That's where the problem is. And you see, you have Jupiter here. So Jupiter enters on 1st June here. And that is when Jupiter aspects Saturn, and obviously Jupiter aspects Capricorn and the 8th house, those speculations, because a lot of people talk about Scorpio. Scorpio is when this the primary income of Scorpio is from inheritance. So, if you want to gift a portfolio to your son, that's when Scorpio is to be considered. But it's all about the 5 and the 11th axis, and staying here, going back, and then coming to the sign of Leo somewhere in October. Again, it's a very beautiful time because you'll have this aspect of Jupiter on Rahu. So if you can control your nerve till June, from June to October, October to December, you're going to make money on your existing portfolio. And from those profits, you can buy gold and sell. Do not buy gold, especially silver, from taking out money from your portfolio, liquidating it, and then putting into metals or oils. That's going to be the biggest mistake that anyone can do at this point of time. You will, bleed, and you will lose money. So hold on. The profits are right on the cards. They are gonna come. And when they come, at that time, further invest into, you know, organizations, companies associated with oil, metal, I would say gold, because silver is extremely volatile. Right? I would say silver will go high, but it's volatile. So if you want the BP to be stable, you want your mind to be stable, invest in gold from the earnings of your existing portfolio. Don't liquidate, don't drop it. That's the catch. That's how you're going to make large money. So this was my video. I hope you liked it. I'll keep posting such videos now quite oftenly, and we'll talk about geopolitics and other things as well. But I think if you like the video, please do share and help people around you. If you help, the God will give you the contribution of that help as well. I'll come up with another video. Till then, Hare Krishna, Har Har Mahadev. Stay safe. Thank you very much.